Hey guys, in this video I will explain archons, visions, and the tree of life, which are all intertwined, because though Genshin seems cryptic and obscure, Genshin mirrors Gnosticism. However, it doesn't tell you the complete story, but I however will. So as I've said in earlier videos of this series, the false primordial one created a prison for mankind, which is this very realm in life, which even in death cannot be escaped, as one will just be reborn in time, right back to slaving away in this prison. He also made the archons to be our jailers. However, not all archons are evil. The ones that chose the side of remembrance in the Archon War do still play their role to this day of being mankind's jailers. However, they aren't purposely trying to keep everyone trapped or doing this to be malicious, evil, and sinister. They are just doing this because they are compelled to. This is their nature, as they were made to be like that. And what they are doing is falling prey to their egotistical desires, and likely aren't realizing the ramifications it has on mankind. But this keeps mankind so fixated that people don't notice the path. They are so fixated on these illusions that they don't see. Hence, if they learn how to see past these illusions, they will gain access to each vision. A quick note is that those who follow the false primordial one and his ways are called the blind, the visionless. Anyway, to see past the egotistical desires, the illusions, it's by gaining a drop of gnosis. Gnosis means spiritual enlightenment. It's not really something that you can be taught or have explained to you, which is why our sibling once upon a time told us something like, you'll figure it out yourself one day, or something like, one day you'll see, one day you'll learn the truth of this world, rather than just telling us the truth, because your sibling can't. They can't put the wisdom in you. They can't put the enlightenment in you. You have to gain it for yourself. Same reason we allow Paimon to do all the talking, as she has to experience it and make all the choices herself, not just follow blindly whatever we say and do, so she can regain her gnosis and return to her former self. If a person doesn't, however, they will just be trapped in this dark, evil world of pain and suffering for all of eternity, dying countless times and being a victim and slave to the Abyss King's whims and torments. So like I've said, to escape this physical reality and ascend to the next plane of existence, you need to be enlightened. But you can't gain enlightenment by being told all the right answers. It's something you have to figure out for yourself. However, this is being counteracted by the archons themselves, even if they aren't aware of it. I'll explain what each archon's egotistical desire is, along with the tree of life and visions, because they're all tied together. So the tree of life is kind of like a chakra system. One of the main points of Gnosticism is to be able to see past illusions with enlightenment, and the tree of life is that roadmap. It's not really a physical map you walk, more like one to help you understand how to see one's own faults, as well as those of the archons, to overcome these faults, to gain balance, which will leave you not only a better person, but enlightened, even if you don't know you did that, or meant to, or even know this was a thing. So this image here from Genshin is the tree of life in Gnosticism, and its format of how it should work and all its meanings is exactly that of Genshin. How visions are obtained, and it even explains why each character behaves, thinks, and feels the way they do, as well as the archon's egotistical desires. So how this works is each of these points is the very coding for each element. Bypassing each lock grants you access to that power. Each, however, is locked by each archon's egotistical desire, where each Sephiroth can be illuminated by fixing or correcting an imbalance. Sephiroth, by the way, pretty much means an illuminated crystal. By the way, each and every single Sephiroth has a whole world of meaning and correspondence behind them. However, I'm just going to give you the gist of each one of them. Okay, starting at the bottom, this one is called Kingdom. This is our physical reality, or matter, our world as it's meant to be known. This one implies that every single person in the world of Teyvat has the ability and the potential to not only gain a single vision, but in truth has the potential to move past, shatter, or correct each illusion, as all visions must be obtained. So to unlock any single vision, you need three things. First, your soul needs to be resonating with a specific type of Sephiroth or vision, and I'll be going over each one of those in a bit. Second, you need sovereignty and self-governance. You can't be the type of person that sits around and waits for other people to take initiative and do everything. You can't sit around praying for the gods to come save you. You have to be the one to take initiative and do it yourself. You have to have the mindset that you know that things aren't only possible, but that they are actual. You need to be the one to stand up and to get things done. Without this mentality, you can't gain any vision, and you just stay stuck in kingdom. The third thing you need to gain any vision is completely different to each and every elemental type. So the key action one needs to unlock whichever vision is you're supposed to fix an imbalance in your resonance to that element, or you need to do one of the actions I'll be listing for each type. Moving on to the Sephiroths that are actually illuminated. So this Sephiroth in Gnosticism is called Wisdom. Its resonance is basically standing for experience, the seed of an idea, as well as insight, inspiration, and intuition. This one is the purest possible manifestation of energy because this one is the first one in creation. This one is supposed to be creative, spiritual, and transcendent. However, each archon and element has an egotistical desire. So since this one's the first one, let me give you an example of how its egotistical desire is actually playing out in Genshin. So the people believe to obtain the Dendro Vision, surely what you need to do is follow the example of the Dendro Archon, right? And she's the Archon of Wisdom. And therefore acquiring enough wisdom, then perhaps you would gain a Dendro Vision, right? But that's not how this works. Because the egotistical desire is meant to distract you from the path it takes to unlock that actual vision. You know that the egotistical desire isn't the path to unlocking this vision because wouldn't most of the people in the academia have a Dendro vision? But almost none of them do, because that's not how this vision is obtained. That's just what consumes all your focus and wastes your time. For instance, Reina, a ranger, who's not a scholar, was able to obtain a Dendro vision right before our very eyes, while top scholars who have pursued intellectual studies their entire life can't obtain one. This vision or Sephiroth is supposed to be unlocked with selflessness, self-nullification. But this has to be completely sincere with your pure and honest intent that you sacrifice yourself for the greater good of this other person, this other thing, or those people. It doesn't necessarily imply you have to die. It just means you completely have no regard for yourself in this moment, and all you purely and honestly see is helping that other person. Nothing else matters to you but that. That is how you obtain the Dendro Vision. The next Sephiroth is Electro. In Gnosticism, this one is called Victory and Eternity. Its resonance is about overcoming obstacles, orchestrating with intention and emotion and love, as well as persistence, forcefulness, daring, and even one versus the many. So how is this vision unlocked? Is it eternity, whatever the heck that means? Or is it victory, simply being triumphant? No, because you have to remember that the Archon's egotistical desire usually conflicts with the very way it takes to unlock this vision. This one, however, isn't too far away, but it isn't exactly the point of it. The way you unlock this vision is supposed to be confidence and determination. But note, it has to be your true and honest intent. Personally, I call this one's resonance unyielding, as you have to be completely and utterly unyielding, unchangeable, unmovable. You can't surrender under any circumstance. This is how you would unlock the Electro Vision, or the 7th Sephiroth. This does not imply that you have to be the victor. It just means that you did not yield at any point. There never was a moment in your mind where you're like, I should just give up. This is pointless. I'm tired or whatever. No, you keep going. An example I gave in a past video is that when push comes to shove, Pyro users are probably the first ones to get up. They're the ones in the front line, fighting with everything they have. However, Electro users, though they may not be the first ones to get up, or the ones on the front line or whatever, long after the battle, even if the retreat horn had been sound, they aren't going anywhere. They're going to stand their ground and fight to their dying breath. Even if they're the last person standing on the side versus uncountable odds, they just can't find it in themselves to surrender. Unless, however, retreat was part of the initial plan, or losing this small battle might give them the bigger reward later. Or allowing yourself to fall to something insignificant, which will actually take you away from something important that you need to be part of later. In that case, you can concede to this smaller thing in order to be part of this bigger thing later. Because you cannot concede to this bigger thing because it's so important to you that it overrides the smaller event, which you can then concede in. The next Sephiroth is Geo. In Gnosticism, this one is called Splendor. His resonance basically is trade, communication, exchange, math, things like this. Some of its traits are like being thankful, devoted, and accommodating. In Genshin, this one is about contracts, and therefore its egotistical desire is the same, which means accumulating wealth and fame, infamy, and even success through contracts and deals, which is the very leeway way, won't get you a geovision, as contracts would be Rex Lapis's egotistical desire, which explains why so many people in leeway don't have a geovision, because so many of them fall victim to Rex Lapis's egotistical desire. However, contracts aren't really the problem here, it's humans' assumptions of its very point, believing that contracts and even life should be about obtaining as much wealth and fame and success, when in reality it's not, as at the end of one's life no one really cares what car you drove, how big your house was, how much money you made a year, or what degrees you had. What really matters is the impact your heart and soul had on their lives. That's what would be remembered and talked about and never let go of, even in the very hearts and minds of animals. The way you unlock this vision is sincere and earnest surrender. Learning to let go, knowing what is, accepting, giving away. It's basically humility. The next Sephiroth is Pyro. In Gnosticism, it is might and severity. Its resonance is about passion, but it is also about anger, violence, and aggression. It's calculated, cautious, and serious. It's also about strength of boundaries, setting limits, and self-control. In Genshin, this one is war. As for its egotistical desire in Genshin, it's also war, and its might and severity in Gnosticism, which is pretty similar anyway. You can tell that its egotistical desire is not how this vision is obtained, as all of the Pyro characters so far didn't obtain their vision in a war's battlefield. This vision can be unlocked by, I'm still not sure if there's an English word for this concept, but its interpretation is kind of like when something terrifies you, but it also puts you in awe of it and inspires you at the very same time. This is how a Pyro vision is obtained. The next Sephiroth is Hydro. In Gnosticism, this one is called Mercy. Its resonance is about loving kindness, serving others, expanding ideas, and prophetic concerns. It's about fairness, peace, and order. It is generous, optimistic, and sociable. In Genshin, this one is Justice, which clearly means it's also its egotistical desire, which might seem odd as that isn't too far away from Hydro's very resonance. However, you have to remember that in Gnosticism, its egotistical desire also isn't too far away from its resonance, which makes this vision kind of easy to obtain, unless however you aren't really an empathic person. You don't really care about other people or the well-being of other people. This vision might be impossible for someone like this to obtain. Anyway, the way you unlock this vision is about empathetic service to others and loving all things. Next is Cryo. In Gnosticism, this one is understanding. Its resonance is the mentality of seeing things from a higher perspective, fleshing it out, formulating a story. It's about form and limitation. It is logical, analytical, and organized. What is its meaning and therefore egotistical desire in Genshin? I don't know. However, since the other egotistical desires in Genshin match Gnosticism pretty accurately, I think it's safe to assume that it will be at least very close in the meaning, which is understanding. If not, then perhaps something like pain or grief or depression or even isolation. Why am I bringing up these things that seem to have nothing to do with this Sephiroth's meaning, right? Because that's the problem with this one's egotistical desire. When you see how this world works, its rules, the gods, the archons, and its people, you will understand that all of these things have darkness. It's cruel and evil and against you, and it can make you distrust it. You might dislike people and distrust people, and so you put on armor. It's not that you don't have a heart or that your heart is cold or evil. It's that you have so many layers of armor to protect yourself because you know what the world and its people are like, and you don't want to feel that pain. And because of all these layers of armor, it's hard for people to get to your heart, and they might not even think you have one, but it's there. Again, you became this way because you were mistreated. The world didn't show you kindness. All you had was pain and struggle and grief. I dreaded learning each Cryo character story because I knew that each one of them was going to be very depressing. The way you unlock this vision is simply joy. So the point is, you're supposed to understand that this world is dark, and you may be thinking this world is not dark, not everyone is like like this, but you have to understand this is based on Gnosticism, and Gnosticism is saying this world is dark, our God is evil, and so on, and everything is rigged against us. So yeah, our world is supposed to be a struggle, so you understanding all of this would be the correct conclusion. However, if you can see past all that, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. If you can see behind that darkness, there will be light, and that is when you gain gnosis, spiritual enlightenment, as then you having joy after undergoing this emotional torment is when that vision is granted. For some, it might take seconds, for others, perhaps thousands of years. The next Sephiroth is Animal. In Gnosticism, this one is called Foundation. Its frequency or resonance is about dreams and imagination. It's about selflessness, altruisticness, loyalty. It is also about unifying. It's about communication and contact and connection with the external realities and the soul. In Genshin, this one is called Freedom, which is also its egotistical desire, as being fixated on freedom isn't going to earn your vision. As I've said many times, its egotistical desire is not the key, it's the distraction. So the key to unlocking this vision is a few things, but they all boil down to pretty much one single thing. 1 is being hit with a personal truth. 2 is honesty, even if it's twisting words. 3 is a drive to verify a connection in a task, and 4 is testing authenticity. Things like this is how you would obtain this vision, and the core point of all of these things is basically truth. But don't think that it's that simple. It's not about not being lied to or not lie. Remember, first you have to already be resonating with this vision Sephiroth. Second, this truth has to be so powerful and monumental that you gain spiritual knowledge, gnosis, from these actions or truth. All that being said, this one still may seem like the easiest one to obtain, because this is supposed to be the first one you embark on before you start branching out to all of the other visions. Also, it's not really the easiest. The easiest one is whichever one your soul already resonates to by default. The next Sephiroth is Light. In Gnosticism, this one is called Beauty. Its resonance is about harmony and compassion, holding opposing energies. It is the sun, it is the light. It is enlightened consciousness. Its point is supposed to be about sacrifice, balance, and empathy. Clearly, it's the main character. This vision is supposed to be unlocked with mercy and compassion, balancing kindness with restriction. Though the very point of Gnosticism is to unlock each Sephiroth or vision, and we are only limited by ourselves, this one is hard. And any person that manages to unlock this vision is exceptional, and one of the very few who will be able to gain complete gnosis, complete spiritual enlightenment. I've said many times, in the end, every character and NPC will have to do this. But to be a pioneer in this, to be one of the very first ones, is a lot different than being the very last one in existence. You see, the hard part about this is your soul's resonance. Everyone has a default resonance to their soul, which makes them more likely to be designated to a specific vision. Therefore, once you do whatever task it takes to unlock that vision, knowingly or not, that vision is obtained. And if you want to gain access to a second vision, then you have to resonate with that one as well, and then do whatever task it takes to obtain that vision as well, which is very easy with some combinations. However, with others, they're opposing ideals, and therefore it is very difficult, if not completely impossible, for some people to have their soul resonate with two different frequencies that oppose each other at the very same time. However, anyone who has the Sephiroth or vision unlocked, they will have a much easier time if it's not completely natural to them, as they will have the understanding of harmony and balance within themselves. But I'll explain all this deeper in a moment. But first, let's move on to the next one, because then you'll understand the very importance of this. Next is the crown. The whole point of the spiritual journey, the spiritual evolution, is to reach this point, the crown. The crown is supposed to be complete enlightenment and infinite unmanifested potential and access to the realm of light, becoming an aeon yourself. In the original language, this one is called ether. I mean Kether. Unlike the other Sephiroths, this one isn't so simple to unlock. Obviously, as you get Aeon light powers when you do, and complete gnosis, the key to unlocking this one is faith, will, and the light. However, you also need all of the other visions to be unlocked, which means your soul has to resonate with all of the other visions and each of their meanings. But not only that, they each have to be perfectly balanced and equal with every other vision within these pillars of severity, equilibrium or balance, and mercy, which, if you've been paying attention, you know that each vision, the one across from it, is an opposing force, which is completely opposite to what the current force stands for. for. However, once you have unlocked each vision, you should have already gained the insight to understand it. So you would know not just how to transmute something like Pyro's mentality or resonance to Hydro, but also how to temper these two in perfect balance so that they don't just extinguish one another. You will know that each of these middle Sephiroths are balancing points to these triquatras, which are body, mind, and spirit. For instance, you would know that Foundation is the center point to balance Geo and Electro, to surrender and to be unyielding, Harmony to balance mercy and serenity, the Crown to balance the understanding of the wisdom. Balancing them perfectly might be a lifelong goal, if not multiple lifelong journeys for some, or impossible for others. However, to reach the Crown, all Sephiroths must not only be unlocked, but in perfect balance with each other vision. You might not think that this information is even relevant to Genshin. However, look at it this way. Though each single vision wielder, or archon, or dragon, or kingdom is completely different than one another, we're all supposed to be completely harmoniously balanced with one another in complete equality, as well as every single element and vision user is supposed to learn every single possible alchemical combination, with Harmony, the main character, being the center point, the only one that has a direct path to connect with absolutely every single other one, allowing us to not only bring peace and balance to whichever conflicting energies, characters, groups, or nations, but also to unite them. The opposing Sephiroths might give you the misconception that they are meant to destroy one another, or clash with each other, or be polar opposites. For instance, Hydro is mercy, a king sitting on a throne casting judgment, but forgiving a lot of the times in Gnosticism, while Pyro is supposed to be a king on a chariot on the battlefield, destroying those who oppose him, or aren't deemed worthy. So it can appear that these two clash with each other, or how Geo clashes with Electro, or how Cryo clashes with Dendro. However, the whole point is that they're supposed to work together. That is the perfect pair for each other. And I know what some may be thinking, that the resonance between these clash in Genshin. They aren't supposed to be working together too well, right? For instance, let me give you a psychological example here. Let's say an INFJ who's an introvert and wants to stay inside and watch Netflix all the time or something, compared to someone like an ENFP who wants to go outside exploring, going to the latest club or whatever all the time. They seem like they aren't the perfect pair. They seem like they clash with each other. However, what really happens if those two are paired together is they bring balance to each other's life. So you're not just gonna be inside all of the time or going to clubs all of the time. You will do some of these things sometimes, and each side would get more balance. You balance each other out. That's how it's supposed to be in the Tree of Life. Pyro is not supposed to clash with Hydro. They're supposed to bring symmetry to each other, supposed to bring balance to each other, equalize one another. Imagine if these two nations would unify and work together and rule together. They would be more balanced, instead of just being so chaotic and fixated on war or fixated on justice or mercy or whatever. Together they can give fair and empathetic justice or mercy, but if needed to, they can give the correct sentence, even if it means war or destruction. Even further than just balancing these two opposing forces would be a council of the Archon of the Remembrance, so there will be pure balance on all levels, and then there would be the correct conclusion reached, and they can come to the right resolution, rather than their overly crazy and dramatic versions of what is the right way to do things, if not just a completely enlightened single person ruling over all, which is the story of the main character in the Gnostic tale. As if we can complete our journey of enlightenment, of gnosis, we will be the overall ruler, for the betterment and salvation of all, not for some egotistical reason. I know this video is kind of long already, however, we're not done with this map yet. There's one more. In truth, there's a lot more to this. However, there is one more thing that's relevant to Genshin specifically, which is there's a hidden Sephiroth here. You see, the Abyss is right here. It's here, but it also isn't here at the very same time. And the Abyss is knowledge. It is integration. It is invisible, but it is there. In there, you're supposed to go through great suffering, or even death, but you would come out with enlightenment. It's about principle and attentiveness and about being involved. I'm not sure if this would ever be a vision or not. However, it does say how it can be obtained in Gnosticism. It says, union with idea awakens emotion, which is kind of like the story the battle pass is based on, which is the very thing that the letter, the message, the aeon, or the angel sent to awaken the heir, your sibling, is sent to do. Anyway, sorry this video is so long, guys. It's just that each of these little pieces wouldn't have made sense as their own video without the context of all of it overall being connected to each other. But anyway, if you guys want to see any of the other stories in Gnosticism or how Genshin mirrors it, as well if you want to understand any other things in Genshin does that seems very obscure, then I probably have a video for it, or I'm working on a video for it. But anyway, thanks for watching guys, and I hope to see you next time.